our next artist coming up is a chap called Krasmir Koev. Just wait for Krasmir to arrive. We've still got Nicola.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Krasmir. How are you?
Good. Very excited.
I'm sure. Yes, it's very exciting.
Exciting. Finally, new people.
Yes.
It's been a while.
Well, well done for getting this far into the top 20 now in the competition. That's brilliant news. Now, Krasmir, tell us a little bit more about you and how you became an artist, and of course, tell us about the artwork you're presenting today.
Well, my name is Krasmir, and I'm a visual development artist and an illustrator currently based in London. I was trained as an animator in Bournemouth University of Arts, and that's where I found my passion for character design and concept art. Growing up in the 90s, I was obsessed with film like The Dark Crystal, A Never-Ending Story, and these films are fairly dark, and the characters are quite gloomy, but they're still relatable and likable due to their imperfections and their characteristics. And I think that the idea of looking for beauty in ugly things is my main aspiration as an artist today. And I think it's all to do with all these films I watched as a kid. I'm also a huge fan of Jamie Hewlett from Gorillaz, Carter Goodrich, which is a very well-known concept artist for Pixar and DreamWorks, and Beatrix Potter, the original illustrator and author of Peter Rabbit. Although I work digitally a lot due to my career as a concept artist, I was trained in traditional mediums like pencils and watercolor and charcoal, and I love using these materials when I develop my own projects. Which brings me to the piece I'd like to present to you today. It's done in black pen, which is a material I just absolutely adore, because it's just a regular black pen and it just gives a really nice range of tone. It's called The Watering Hole, and it has 24 characters and a few storylines inspired not only from my experience as an artist, but also from my life in London. If you look in closer, you'll see scenes like, if you just move to the next slide, someone being fired and sharing with their friends, or having this one friend that never stop talking and you just can't help love them. Or you can see on the next slide the potential beginning of a relationship or the end of a relationship. Or on the next slide, you can see the idea of the situation of being late for a date. And yeah, it's this piece was initially inspired by a song I've heard recently on the radio, which was Billy Joel's Piano Man, and it just reminded me of how much I miss being around people. And it's quite special to me because it's a memory of what life used to be before COVID struck, and hopefully it will resume again soon. I've initially submitted 2 more art drawings for the competition, but I really want to go in depth this one because it's just really long and has a lot of detail that I want to show. Thank you.
Wow, right on the button there, actually, Krasmir. Well done.
Thank you. I wasn't expecting that.
That's absolutely brilliant. Marvellous. Right, well, let's hear what the judges have to say. Krasmir, let's head over to Emily. If you can start first for us today.
Hi, Krasmir. Yeah, really like the work. It's very different, it's very different. When I say not different for me, because I'm used to obviously the pen rendering techniques when I'm teaching, but it's different compared to others in the competition, so that sort of makes it unique. I'm glad you spoke about the bar one, because I love the way it sort of shapes as well down into that middle point, and then I've noticed somebody holding the tray, and it also reminded me of the good old days when we were allowed to go into a bar and we could mix. So it has a few things, but now that you've told the story, it's even more wonderful. The characters, being late for a date and a relationship ending. But let's talk about the technical work here. It's brilliant. I mean, I've read that you've used a biro. Is that correct for your pen rendering?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
I
a
mean,
big thing.
yeah. So fantastic. And where we get the shadowing and the depth is from the cross hatching. Am I correct? You know, in the background. So if it's all been done with a biro, I mean, that's a real talent, isn't it? But it's not just that, it's not just the pen rendering, it's the whole, as I said to you, it's the whole thing. I love the way my eye is up the top and then it's down, and then I'm looking at all these characters, and now you've told me the story, and I think it would be a great conversational piece. You know, if I put that on the wall for a client, if it was their taste in terms of interiors, there would be people entering their house saying, oh, and what's happening there, and oh, I really like that. So well done from that perspective. Yeah, I really enjoyed looking at it. Thank you.
Thank you very
that's
much.
wonderful. Thank you very much, Emily. Geetha.
Hi, Krasmir.
Hiya.
Hi. Can you tell me how many characters there are in that picture?
24.
24.
Wow.
You know, when I look at that picture, I'm just thinking you must have lived with each and every character when you drew that, right? When you sketched that. So that for me is absolutely fascinating. It's just ink, just black and white, but
it's just, yeah, sorry.
But it's the most colorful picture that I've seen. Absolutely brilliant. The narrative is of humor for me. Because there's a certain lightheartedness about. There's various expressions. One is angry, one is, you know, sort of given up attitude, you know, the expressions of each of them. But that is what I really liked. It almost took me to a fantasy world. I felt like Dorothy with my red shoes. It took me to a world of that kind, and that's what you described in the beginning, talking about being inspired by Beatrice Potter and so on. So what I liked, the other thing is some of them have very blatant moods as such, but there's also a lot of transitional moods that you've tried to portray, and that absolutely fascinating that it was just done with a pen. And the humor comes through. I think that's what it is, you know, like it could be heavy, but it is like, what's life, you know. That's the feeling that I get out of that painting, of the sketchings, sorry. And the technique, absolutely loved it. You know, there's not too much, not too little, just enough to capture that mood that the picture emanates. Wonderful and hearty congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for those fantastic comments, Geetha. Terry, over to you.
Hi, Krasmir. Again, I'm just going to echo what has been said by my colleagues. Really fascinating, talented piece of work there. It just shows the power of paper and pen, and that's just an amazing way to enthrall us all with visual imagery. Of course, I particularly like the water and hole. It's a really intriguing piece. The range of emotions, the range of angst on the faces of the people and of the characters in the piece are just incredible. It's one of those pieces that one looks at, and as you did divide it up into various stories, but you have your story for that. Others will create their own stories around those things. And for me, that's always what really art is about, what it brings to others, what others take away from it. What's your story, of course, and your narrative around it is absolutely perfect. You are allowing the viewers to have their own stories and create their own sense of that. And I particularly like the fact that you in your two other images, this notion of seeing beauty where in ugliness, I think you said something like that, seeing the beauty in ugliness. And I think your imagery does that in a very visceral way. You see very strong characters, and although their expressions and emotions may be at odds with ease, there is something beautiful about them. I thought that the water and hold in some way reminded me of Da Vinci's The Last Supper, where Jesus is in the middle and he has those characters around him, and I thought that so an amazing take of that. And the other thing it reminded me of is that I remember some of the old Star Wars movies where they would go through the bars in these places in faraway galaxies, and an array of really an assortment of amazing characters. And I think that's what you've done here. You created an amazing way of fascinating characters that tell stories that would go on and on and on. So well done.
Oh, thank you
very
so much, Terry. That is brilliant. Well, Krasmir, what do you make of all of that, all of those comments?
It's just wonderful hearing people from the art community commenting on my work, because I haven't had the chance to show a lot of that work to creatives, and it's just very humbling. And I'm glad that they enjoyed it and they found they got the idea that I do have my storyline behind it, but you can create your own story, because it's all to do with personal experience, and I'm glad that that goes through. And yeah, and I'm glad that it brought this fantasy world, because that's what one of my main inspirations is, taking my personal experience of my life in London and just make it prettier and funnier, and just show it and kind of live through hard moments with this kind of humor, really.
Well, I think these sketches where every time you look, you notice something different, don't you? Yes, they're fantastic, absolutely brilliant. And one of my questions was going to be if you'd shown anyone your artwork, but you've already answered that, Krasmir. I wish you all the very best. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
And congratulations for getting this far. Well done. That's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the critics, and thank you. Have a lovely day.
Wonderful. Thank you.